Hello and welcome everybody.
One-tenth.
1/10, yes. I'm afraid we had a little difficulties with this the start, and we have an unfortunate limit on the amount of viewers. But we'll go anyway, and hopefully there will be some live streaming. Otherwise, this will be recorded, and we will send it out afterwards.
You might want to close your Slack.
So, welcome to this New Year's reception.
Yes, and welcome to the 100 lucky viewers. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So, Niels, 2018 has been a great year.
Definitely.
You actually told me a couple of times that it's been one of the greatest years in Umbraco history.
Yes, but because 2018 started with us doing a New Year's reception.
That's right.
And it was so popular that we reached the max
Yes.
number of attendees, and we said, that's never going to happen again. We'll make sure we use a webinar product that we can understand. And it turned out we haven't done anything.
So.
But apart from that,
it was a great year last year.
It was a really great year.
If you could just pick one of the things you think of that was making last year so great.
Well, just picking one is super difficult because there were so many great things. But if I should pick one, it's that the things that made Umbraco a success in the early days, we actually managed to nail at scale last year, which makes me very happy and makes the product much better and the community much more engaged. So that's absolutely fabulous.
So in this this New Year's reception, we will spend a bit time looking back at 2018. We'll talk a little bit about the scale. We'll talk about community involvement. We'll talk about the market expansion that we've seen in Umbraco, and we'll talk about the change here in Umbraco HQ. But most of the time, we will be looking forward to the year coming, 2019, and we'll touch upon the Umbraco apps. We'll touch upon Umbraco Headless, and of course, Umbraco version 8. So
that's a great agenda.
Stay tuned for the next 30 minutes. But Niels, we always had a strong community here in Umbraco. And not only have we had a strong community, but the change here in 2018 was actually that we were more structured and we had dedicated people to support the community and the growth of it, right?
Yep. And that was actually when I said what made Umbraco great in the early days, and now it works at scale. That's actually a great example of that. The reason that Umbraco became a great product was that it was made by people who used the product and was very close to the people who would end up editing the product. And as you grow as a product company, that becomes harder because we stopped doing implementations, and we became expert in our product, but not users of our product. And at the same time, as the company grows, there's a ton of things you have to cater for. But as you mentioned last year, we not only managed to have full-time HQ staff working on facilitating the community and the community involvement, but we also scaled it out to 2 teams that had a combination of HQ people and community people in it, which is what we call our PR team or the pull request team, and our documentation team, which takes care of our documentation.
And I actually know that that looking at the numbers of the PR team, that it's amazing what they accomplished in 2018.
Yeah, I mean, you just added this graph on the slides, and I think it speaks numbers. The amount of pull requests coming into the project has exploded last year. But most importantly, because of the way we scale things, the people who are actually sending in pull requests, they get replies faster, and their pull request gets merged much faster. So what you actually see in this graph is not only that we've had a huge increase in number of pull requests coming in, but also that now the red line is higher up than the blue line,
Yes.
which means that we are actually, despite this insane growth, we are merging more pull requests than that are coming in, which of course again makes it much nicer to be a part of contributing to the product.
But also the documentation team. I know that a lot of software companies struggle by keeping their documentation up to date and keeping it relevant. But we actually changed that quite much by having this documentation team, and they really made a great effort as well.
Yeah, and this chart shows that we used to be just like everybody else.
Exactly.
What this graph now shows is that the amount of documentation has exploded. I mean, if the amount of pull requests had gone crazy, I don't know what to say about the documentation.
Yeah.
And again, this is because, well, you see the chart slowly growing last year because we started in the HQ to write documentation, but it really scales when you start to have wonderful people from the community engaged. And this is actually what you see here.
Yeah.
Again, explosion. And again, the amount of pull requests for the documentation that gets merged is really following along.
Yeah. But it's not just the community growing stronger. We also see a huge popularity in Umbraco. We actually have more than 1,100 solution partners now across the world. That's amazing.
It's crazy.
We see new markets taking in Umbraco and growing strong. Markets that has never touched Umbraco before.
And not only are we seeing the number of solution partners that we know of is growing, we are also much more engaged with them, and the solution they make are much more impressive, even more impressive than we've seen before.
So in November we had a quite big milestone reached.
Yes.
What was that, Niels?
As you know, we have a vision.
We have a vision, yes.
And that is that by the end of 2021,
yes,
we want to have 1 million Umbraco sites running, and 10% of them running on our cloud platform. And in November, we reached a huge milestone because now, at that time, there was now more than 500,000
500,000 active websites.
Yeah.
And how is that measured? I mean, do we count them or how?
Yeah, it's actually funny because when you work in open source, it's always a bit more difficult to track your installations, because is it downloads? No, because if we look at downloads alone, just on one of our distribution platforms, NuGet, there's been more than 1 million installs of Umbraco. But what we do is a relatively pessimistic approach where we say Umbraco can check for updates, and those websites that has checked for updates, that's the ones that we are saying is active websites, and that's more than 500,000 now.
Yeah.
So on our way to fulfill our vision,
and
damn cool.
Will we reach it?
Of course.
Of course. Yeah. So it's along with all of these things, we are also growing the company behind the HQ. I mean, personally, I started about 2.5 years ago, and I think we were 17 at that time.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
We just crossed 50 employees, 50 colleagues here at Umbraco HQ. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. How do you feel about that, Vince?
It definitely makes the Christmas parties much more fun.
yeah, definitely.
No, it's fantastic, and I think one thing is the number of people, but I'm much more impressed about the things we are doing. How everything we do is more structured. We have solid processes. We also no longer just a development company. We also engage with our partners, the users of Umbraco, as we mentioned, the community. So super proud.
Especially our D team has.
But also because what we really want with Umbraco is we want to write history. We want to show that you can build a sustainable open source company. And by sustainable, it is that in this world, we exchange energy through money. And when we get money, we can distribute that energy to people who can work full time and actually have a company that is a true open source company, and at the same time it's a safe choice because we're actually profitable and we are investing a enormous amount of money in the future of Umbraco.
So last time we spoke, we had just 1st of January 18 hired in a CTO that would be fully dedicated to the development and structuring processes in the development. And we also added a lot of people to the D team. How have you seen that effect?
Yes, I mean, when we talked about this last year, we only knew Jacob, which is our CTO, because he was good looking. We didn't really know how he performed as a CTO. He's also friendly and very experienced.
Yes.
But of course, he had a lot to prove, and boy, did he prove it. What we've seen the last year is the D team growing. We knew that. We knew we would be investing in our products and in the development of our products. So we needed better management, better leadership, and he has really delivered together with the development team, or what we call the D team, which is now actually 4 teams run by super structured processes where we can actually know what we're going to deliver, when we're going to deliver it, and the quality of what we've been delivering is so much higher. Just as an example of this, if we take the Umbraco CMS alone, last year we had more than 30 releases of Umbraco and more than 650 improvements.
Oh, that's a lot.
And these are improvements that are coming in like a steady stream. It's not, the big bang biannual releases full of bugs anymore. It's like, just this week we released 7.13 with 172 improvements. And you can opt in to go on 7.13 if it makes sense. You can also just wait for 7.14 and then you can opt into that one. It's not like these huge, massive breaking changes, which I also think makes people really like the Umbraco approach, where you can always jump on the train and you can always upgrade. And of course, if you run on cloud, you can put on a straitjacket and upgrade with your notes. I've done that. It's that simple to upgrade to a new version.
In the beginning, Niels, you talked about scale. Yep. Could you elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, I mean, a bit like I said before, this idea that I strongly believe that great products are made when the focus is not on a company's valuation, which seems to be the norm for a startup today, but measured by the value it brings to their customers. Okay. And the only way you can do that is by understanding the people who end up using your product. And there's nothing better than sitting right next to the people using your product, or even being a user yourself, and then know what it takes. And normally, normal product development, this approach has to be funneled through focus groups or wish lists or tickets or whatever. But with Umbraco, it's no longer just me and D team and even though we believe we are a lot of people, it's not just us who creates the software, but we are actually so far that it's done by lots of people in the community. And this scales now because we have full-time people working in Umbraco, not just to merge these pull requests that are coming in and these improvements, but also facilitate how this is done and facilitate how this scales through initiatives like the documentation team and the PR team. And the great designer, Charles Eames, he used to say, the details are not details, they make the design. And I strongly believe that. I love the release that came out this week. It's, again, 7.13 is it called. It has 70 172 details. It's not huge features, it's details, it's small improvements, bug fixes, and 160 of them are made by community contributions. It's small details where someone has used the product and thought, this could be better, or this could be fixed, but not enough to get the attention of us.
Yeah.
But those 172 improvements or details combined make such a beautiful design that you end up as a user of Umbraco just thinking, this is so polished, this is so stable, and this is so relevant, which I'm so proud of that we've achieved.
So let's look ahead. Let's look at 2019.
Yes.
And this, what you're talking about, is part of Umbraco's ecosystem, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I mentioned that we have more than 1,000 solution partners, and we have been good at handling our solution partners.
Yep.
But we have another kind of partner that is called.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that one of the reasons that the people really love or that Umbraco gets so much attention now is that, contrary to the trend in the market, the last couple of years we've been talking about, we want to be a great CMS. This is our focus.
Yeah.
We don't want to be the platform that does it all. We sincerely believe in best of breed. And people used to laugh at us, say there's no future in that, and all of a sudden you start seeing the big analysts saying that best of breed is the future.
Yeah. And with that, we also have to take care of our technology partners that deliver extended functionality to Umbraco, that do third-party software to Umbraco, right?
Yep.
And that's why we have been talking about Umbraco apps, and that we want to launch that here in 2019.
Yep.
In fact, we are launching it right now, aren't we?
I believe we are.
So let's take a look at it. Right now on Umbraco.com, we have launched a section called Umbraco Apps, which is all of our third-party, our technology partners, which brings in third-party apps that are integrated with Umbraco. And you can choose in different categories. You can choose for different versions. And you can see that we are launching it right now with already just about 20 different Umbraco apps in here.
Yeah, so it's actually, I'm super impressed by that, that we're able to have 20 launch partners without this even being something that's public. This is third-party technology partners, anything from personalization engines, commerce engines, newsletter engines, etc., that are really believing in this best of breed strategy as well. And the big difference between the packages we've always been having and will continue to have and an Umbraco app is that the app has to solve something for the end user. And at the same time, it has to be done by some who commit to the quality of their products, including keeping them up to date to the latest version of Umbraco, and also commit to customer service. So as an end user of Umbraco, you can know that this is something you can trust. It's something that gets verified, and it's something that brings new relevant functionality to your Umbraco solution. Yeah, which is super, super cool.
And we actually expect a lot from this. Yes. We expect it to grow to between 50 and 70 more apps within 2019. Yep. And this supports our strategy of best of breed.
Yes. And it means that it gets much easier to use products that are as passionate about what they do, whether it's personalization, other types of marketing technology or marketing automation, etc., as we are passionate about creating a great CMS and a great community.
But this also is all third-party software done by others, right?
Yes.
We also do something ourselves, right? And last year we launched what we call Umbraco Headless, which was in beta version. Yeah. Will we see that being launched in a productive version here in 19, I think?
I love the process we've been taking because this was a new area for us.
Yeah.
We had a lot of ideas how this should work. But rather than launching something right away, we launched it in a beta. We've had more than 1,000 beta testers of headless. And the idea with headless is that you might not create a website, but you want to use the great editor experience of Umbraco in anything from a mobile app, an in-store digital experience, a chatbot, a watch, whatever. And the creativity we've seen from these beta testers is mind-blowing.
It's amazing, yeah.
And how they're using headless really extend what we believe it could be used for. So over the last half of 18, we've been preparing headless for launch. We've been setting up a team that can deliver and are right now polishing the product to fit not what we thought was relevant, but what our beta testers of headless have proven is relevant. And we'll definitely launch headless this year. And we're super excited about all the things that's been done, including things that are actually in production.
What's also been on pretty much everybody's lips over the last year or two or even more is the Umbraco version 8.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, when is Kim going to do his next famous post?
We need to talk about version 8. We can't get around that. So I know there's gonna be 3 main new features being introduced among a lot of other things.
Yes,
could you tell a bit about version 8?
I would love to.
Yeah.
First of foremost, I'm gonna make it increase the suspense by having a slide that shows off Umbraco 7 while it says Umbraco 8. Umbraco 8 is a lot of things, but what's going to blow people away is 3 main features. Before I talk about those, you have to understand that 8 is a leaner, it's a simpler, and it's a much, much faster version of the Umbraco you already know, despite that it contains 3 major new features that really connects with our strategy. And the first one is multilingual support. And here's a little video. I have this English site, as you know, but as you can see here, now I can also edit it in Spanish. And at the same time, I can also activate a split view so I can edit languages side by side. And to actually turn your site into a multilingual site is as simple as checking a few boxes in your configuration. That includes advanced multilingual features such as mandatory and default languages and fallback languages, and the entire user experience, as you've seen in this animation, is tailored to be actually even simpler than the Umbraco user interface of version 7. So it's a multilingual, now you can make multilingual solutions that are so easy to use that you might even not consider them being something of enterprise quality. But super excited about it, and a lot of design effort has gone into 8 around how multilingual works. Under the surface, it's super advanced, but on the surface, whether you are a editor working with it or whether you're a developer implementing multilingual solutions, it's super, super easy to use, and it's much simpler than it's ever been before to use Umbraco.
So I also understand that we're calling it variants, and it at the first version it will only be at multilingual, but then we will actually be able to use these for personalization and all.
Yeah, the potential of the engine inside of Umbraco 8 that runs multilingual is much higher than what you can actually see on the surface. So it's going to be exciting to see what the future will bring. So another feature is what called infinite editing. Infinite editing, because what's interesting about these multilingual solutions and Umbraco solutions in general, web solutions, is that they become more advanced. And our mission is to make things simpler. And as you see here, I might have a photo that I want to edit. I want to edit how it's cropped, or the focus point. I want to edit the copy. I might have a related link, but I realized that the link I made from the Spanish website is actually not translated. I can, using infinite editing, I can keep on diving into my content without leaving the context.
And that was what you had to do in the previous versions, right?
Yes.
You had to jump around in the different
Yep.
sections in the tree.
And this is really what we're focused on here, that I actually want to, I might have a page that I link to called About Us, but I can actually, from my Spanish context, dive into that one, even though it's another page or another image, and I can edit it super easily.
This is going to be smooth.
And the whole point is we love editors. We keep talking about editor experience at Umbraco as a core thing of the things we do. And the most important thing as an editor is your flow. Making great web content is an art form. And when you're an artist, you really need tools that work with you. And version 8 is a huge leap forward in a very advanced CMS that actually supports an artistic flow, whether you're a developer or whether you're an editor. So super excited about infinite editing. We're only scratching the surface at launch. There's a lot of potential, both for the core of Umbraco CMS, but also for the apps and packages that are building upon this.
So we were talking about that we were launching Umbraco apps before, but we are also bringing the apps inside of Umbraco called content apps.
Yeah, and this is a feature I'm super excited about. So Umbraco, as I mentioned, we're obsessed with great editor experiences, make it as easy as possible to create super nice quality content. But what we want, in addition to that, what we dream about could happen was that editors could get feedback about how does their content actually perform? How relevant is it? How does it convert? And even as a part of the content creation process, get feedback about whether it gets the job done. And this is where content apps comes into place. These are not things we provide, but there's a huge ecosystem of extension to Umbraco and apps, and they can bring intelligence front and center as a part of the editor experience through these content apps. So an example of this is if you have a form on your page, why do you have to browse to another section? Why can't you just see the submitted forms as a part of your flow, as a part of the context you know of? Here's another example. Everybody loves feedback about the stuff they do, but often analytics information is siloed. The people who are crunching analytics numbers doesn't really work in the context of the content and vice versa. But through a content app that would support, for instance, Google Analytics, I, as an editor, can actually see how my content performs.
Beautiful.
So these are just some examples of content apps that we're expecting to see. And to kickstart the creativity of what a content app could be, we launched a competition right before New Year's, where you can win what we call a luxury stay for Code Garden. So that includes a Code Garden ticket plus a full accommodation at the Speaker Hotel of Code Garden for the best content app that and most creative content app that are built.
Did anybody submit?
The competition is still running. It's by the end of this month. But we're already seeing things pop up on Twitter. I stumbled across this one called Preflight by Nathan Woulfe. The idea is that you create content. Unfortunately, this video runs in the wrong loop, so we'll have to share the link. It's only a 5-second loop, but the idea is that I create content, and as I create the content, even before I publish it, Preflight can give you information about whether your links work, whether they are safe according to the Google SafeLink API.
Wow.
Whether your content is hard or not. Whether you have stop words. So if you always, you can do that. Things like that. It's super brilliant and
I guess it'll be a pretty interesting Code Garden this year, isn't it?
I would believe so.
Yeah.
I would definitely come to Code Garden.
So Code Garden is May 22nd to 24th this year.
Yeah, a bit soon.
Yeah, it is in not many months from now.
Yep.
But to be honest, Niels, is this going to be the launch date of version 8 headless on these?
I think that would be great. I mean, wouldn't it be cool? We have a trend that we actually launch big things at Code Garden.
Yeah.
And then people get super excited and can try out new technology. You could argue, though.
I would say now I've talked to a lot of partners, and they really want this.
Yep.
Is there anything we can do about this, Niels?
I don't know, maybe April.
Like 1st of April, or that's not a good date.
No,
is
that's
it?
not a good date.
No.
It's no, but I mean, I get your point. Code Garden would be a much better experience if it wasn't about learning new technology, but if you could actually inspire each other with what you actually build on the latest and greatest technology.
But I actually got you to move the release date from Code Garden until April now, just by talking a bit.
Jacob,
Interesting.
Jacob, our CTO, might disagree. Let's cut the crap and let's just say that we're gonna launch both headless and V8.
Yes.
This quarter.
This quarter. This
Q1.
first quarter. Q1.
Yep. We are in super crunch mode. Actually, V8 is at 93% done.
That's almost done.
Headless is being polished.
Yep.
And as of today, we're going to release the editor track of V8, which means that V8, as terms of editor features, is feature complete and basically ready.
So that's released right now.
It's being released these hours.
Whoa.
And it also means that if you thought V8 is going to be a thing of the future, you better roll up your sleeves. V8 is coming Q1. It's feature complete as part of what editor features, in terms of editor features. So if you haven't played with V8 yet, you really need to start download. It's very easy to get started. We have nightly builds from the download page that you can use.
Yep.
And as I mentioned, within hours, we're going to have the editor track released. And that means that you will have something super solid to play with and start building prototypes and learn about how it works.
But Code Garden will still be exciting, I guess.
I mean, Code Garden is going to be so exciting. Imagine that in Q1, we're releasing V8 and headless, and the following quarter, you get to learn from the very best and the most knowledge there is about these two new super exciting technologies by the people who created them.
Mm-hmm.
The entire D team will come, as well as people who are actually using these things in production.
And that's why we have a special treat as well. So for the next 24 hours, you can actually buy access to all 3 days of Code Garden for the price of 500 euros.
At least 100 will. Or is there room for more than 100?
Actually, if you enter codegarden19.com, the price for the next 20 hours or 24 hours will be 500 euros, no matter if you attended this or not.
And that means that we're going to lose a hell of a lot of money.
Well, it's, but we will have a hell of a Code Garden.
It's going to be such a great Code Garden. I'm super excited. And this is really the first time where we're going to discuss very fresh products, but at the same time, not immature products.
No.
It's really going to be the latest and greatest. And those 3 days where Code Garden is running, you're going to get home super ready to take, leapfrog when it comes to how you can build the next generation of Umbraco solutions.
So buy your ticket and see you at Code Garden. Download the editor track of the V8. And I'm excited, Niels.
I'm super excited. And I hope the 100 people, thank you very much so much for joining, and Happy New Year is excited as well.
Cheers, Niels. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.